What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTB Ravens Media. Before I even get into this, I just want to say I'm sorry about the camera quality. My actual camera is not working, so I'm going off of my laptop's actual camera. I'm going to try and get it fixed or get it returned and get it fixed, so that I don't have to deal with this super yellowy, kind of really bad video quality. So I do apologize about that, but today is a very good day. Obviously yesterday sucked. Ravens lost, season over. But you know what that means? That means off season starts today. And there's no better day than to kick off the off season than a Monday. If you do not know, Mock Draft Monday is my favorite series. I put out a mock draft, a 7-round Baltimore Ravens no trade mock draft every single Monday from when the Ravens season ends until draft day. Every single Monday. We do some more drafts on live streams and stuff like that with you guys helping us out. But every Monday, do this draft. Again, I need to say this again. No trades. They're just too difficult to predict. Sometimes on the live streams, we do the trades. I usually use the Draft Network. The Draft Network site is under maintenance right now, so I use PFFs for today's trades. But as always, let me know in the comment section down below. Hey, I don't like that player, because this is the first one. I'm going to be doing scouting on a lot more players than this. This was like base level. I have not done very much scouting. So, my mock drafts get better and better. I promise you that. I do look into these players. I do watch the players that you guys recommend in the comment section down below. I watch as well. If you say, hey, third round, you took this player at pick 87, maybe it's a wide receiver. I like this wide receiver at that spot instead. Here's why. And I will look at that and I will comment and I will talk with you guys. This is a group, learning and experience thing. And the benefit is the Ravens only have 5 picks this year. So I get to go more deep dive into each of these players. But let's get into it. Sorry for the long intro. It's the first of the year. I'm super excited. Mock Draft Monday, number 1, starting off round 1, pick 23. It came down to 2 players. First player, Jaxon Smith-Njigba. Second player, Joey Porter Jr. I was pretty surprised that Joey Porter Jr. was still available. And I looked at it and I said, okay, what do the Baltimore Ravens need? They need a wide receiver. They need a cornerback too. That's basically it. So it came down to those 2 players, by far the best players available at their position. And I saw it and I was like, you know what? I really like Jaxon Smith-Njigba. Really do like him. However, at this point, we do not know what the Ravens offensive coordinator, what the offense is going to look like if we have Lamar Jackson. And so with that in mind, I was like, you know what? We know what this defense is going to look like. We know what the coordinator is going to be, the players around him. Let's get that defense locked up when we know what it's actually going to be and we know what it needs. If the Ravens go out and they bring in an offensive coordinator and trade for D-Hop, we could be fine. But I'm still going to address the wide receiver position. Do not worry. I went with Joey Porter Jr. in this first round. I'm a big fan of his. He was a name that I had looked into before the season even ended. I was watching Penn State games. And he's a guy that I'm a big fan of because, he's a physical cornerback that can attack the ball with good ball skills. That sounds like a Raven to me. And that's something that I'm a big fan of when I'm looking at cornerbacks. I don't need someone that's going to be risky and go crazy. I need someone that's going to be physical and hold their own and be able to attack. That's exactly what he does. He's able to hit the ball. He's able to make plays, swat the ball away. And outside of Marlon Humphrey, that would be a great number 2. I thought it was pretty funny because I was reading, in addition to watching him, I also read some other people's scouting reports and player comparisons. And one that I saw was on the Draft Network. Their comp for him was Marlon Humphrey, which I thought was really funny. I was like, wow, he's a press man corner. And he reminds you of Marlon Humphrey. And I know the Ravens have switched to a little bit more of a zone coverage scheme, but come on, getting a big physical corner that can just press you at the point of attack in a division that has very good wide receivers, right? I mean, every team outside of the Browns has 2 elite wide receivers, or at least potential to be elite. George Pickens, Deontay Johnson, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. You got to be able to cover both of those guys. You can't just have Marlon on one and then have the other go off on you every single time. So, he's someone that, I'm a big fan of. If he's available for the Ravens, I am completely fine. I don't care who else is on the board. I'm fine with if we take Joey Porter Jr. I'm completely fine with it. I don't care who's on the board. I mean, maybe if like Ringo's on the board, but Ringo's probably going like top 5 or something. So that's the first pick. Second pick, Round 3, pick 87. Had to go with a wide receiver here. I said it before. The Ravens have 2 holes right now. It's wide receiver and it's cornerback. And I went with a wide receiver out of Wake Forest. I went with A.T. Perry. And A.T. Perry's not a name that I knew very well. He's not even a player that I had watched. There were other wide receivers that were available. I think one of them was Tillman out of Tennessee. He was available. He's not somebody that I went out there and was like, oh, I got to see if A.T. Perry's still available. And I was looking at the wide receivers. And I just was watching him. I was also watching the guy out of Fresno State, and I was watching A.T. Perry, and I was like, you know what? Like, this I feel like is the best guy for the Ravens. 6'4", 6'5". He's not a 4'2", 4'3", 40-yard guy, but he can break away from the defense. He can make big plays. He can make big catches. He has all of the intangibles that you can't teach. Good ball skills, physicality, athleticism, and size. Can he work on his route tree? Yes. But if you're going to bring in a guy like T. Martin to come in and really revolutionize your pass game and help those wide receivers develop, that's why you draft a player like A.T. Perry. Like that's exactly why you draft them, because you brought in somebody that can help train them. A guy that's helped train Tyreek Hill, a guy that's helped train Devontae Adams at becoming better route runners. Get yourself the guy that has the things you can't teach. Because if you draft a guy that's a really good route runner, he's not going to get faster. He could get a little bit stronger, but he's not going to get faster. He's not going to jump higher. He's not going to be bigger in any way. A.T. Perry's a guy that could be really special in this league if given the right development. And so as a third-round pick, I feel like, okay, if I'm attacking this offseason, hey, let's trade for, a guy. I brought up DeAndre Hopkins earlier. Let's trade for a guy that could maybe be wide receiver 2, but A.T. Perry could be a 3, or he could come in and he could be a 2. Or he could be a 3 behind Devin Duvernay or something like that, where it's like Devin Duvernay is not a bad 2. If you have the right OC, you can utilize him very well. So A.T. Perry is a guy that I'm really like. I'm not like 100% sold. There could be other guys in the third round I fall in love with. He's the guy that initially kind of stood out to me. And also, I don't think PFF is a very good mock draft simulator. A lot of times there are players available around like this guy should never be available. I've always found that the mock draft network or the draft network had the best mock drafts in terms of where players are actually going. Again, I can't use them. So another caveat, if you're like watching this, and you're like, man, A.T. Perry's a second round pick. I'm like, okay, let me know. Like I will avoid drafting players if people are saying, no, that guy's not a third round pick. Like it's a second round pick and it's stuff like that. So I will avoid drafting them. After that pick, I literally looked at the Ravens and I was like, man, we don't need anything else. Legitimately, I after getting a wide receiver and a cornerback, I looked at it and I was like, what do the Ravens need? They don't need any more starters. Now it's pure depth. Okay. And so I started going best player available at positions that we may potentially utilize if there's injuries or if players retire or things like that. So round 4, pick 126, I went with Jarrett Patterson, guard out of Notre Dame. This is a guy that's been a starter for a long time. He's been a guy that's been very dominant. And the Ravens offensive guard spot, I felt like he was the best offensive lineman available. I looked at tackles, looked at centers, looked at guards. I was like, you know what? Hey, this is a proven guy that can play for Notre Dame turns out a lineman. That's one of the positions that they're very good at doing. And he's coming out. It's like, okay, good offensive lineman out of a big school, good size, good physicality, not crazy quick. That's one of his weaknesses, but we don't know how long Kevin Zeitler is going to be playing for the Ravens. Ben Powers, I don't think he's crazy good by any means, but again, just having a backup for those guys. We don't know how good Ben Cleveland's going to be, if he's going to be able to play. So getting a backup guard, because I don't think Patrick McCarry, I don't want him playing guard. I think he's terrible at guard. He's good tackle, he's good center, terrible at guard. Let's get ourselves a backup guard and Jarrett Patterson in the 4th round, because again, we're not drafting any more starters. Like they're full. We don't need a linebacker, don't need a running back, don't need a tight end, don't need any offensive linemen. We got every position set. I thought about drafting a fullback. I saw one available in the 6th round. I was like, I could do it for the meme. Did not. But round 5, pick 159, I went with a man out of Louisville, Yasir Abdullah. Yasir Abdullah is an edge rusher coming out of Louisville, and I just felt like, hey, you know what? You can never have enough edge rushers. And the Ravens are so good at developing edge rushers. over time. Again, not a day one monster. This could be a year 4 breakout, type of player. He's someone that, is quick, is agile, and he's able to get sacks. He had production. He led the team in sacks last season. He was very, very effective when it came to rushing the passer. Not a great run stopper, from what I've seen in mock drafts, from what I've seen in scouting reports, from what I've seen in the little that I've watched of him. I haven't watched a ton of him. Again, this is day one. This was day one of my scouting. The Ravens season ended yesterday. I'm just starting that. So if you guys think these prospects are terrible, tell me. Tell me why. And I'll be like, okay. He's a guy that we need to develop. But again, this would be at a position where we have a lot of them, right? He would be like edge rusher number 5. And also, at his size, he could play special teams and he could do other things on the field. And that's kind of what I was going for also, in addition to they could be backups. Could they play special teams? Edge rushers, outside linebackers, they can actually play special teams. We've seen Adafe playing special teams. Calais is playing special teams. These guys can go out there and they can get things done. And it's also very difficult. He had 9.5 sacks, by the way, last year, 2 picks, and 4 forced fumbles. So a very good season last year at Louisville in the ACC. Not the best conference, but not a terrible conference. So he was able to get production against some decent talent. Final pick, again, we got players. We got a really good roster right now. So, final pick, round 6, 199, DeMarco Hellams, safety out of Alabama. Did the University of Alabama kind of caveat help me make this decision? Absolutely. When you're coming out of the University of Alabama, you're playing the top level competition. You're getting the top level coaching. You are a very good recruit. There's high potential. But again, I'm drafting him as a safety. The Ravens don't need a starting safety. This is a guy, safeties can play special teams. That's part of the reason why I drafted him. He also is versatile. He was someone that played nickel. He was somebody that played safety. He's got good size at 6'1". He was able to get interceptions. This is something where it's like, okay, he can do multiple things. The Ravens could find a way for him, down the line, 2-3 years into his career, maybe get him onto the field on defense. But hey, special teams, work ethic, that's really what I'm looking at. He can make hits, he can make big tackles, he can get the interception, and hopefully down the line, he could be a really good football player. Again, later round picks, they're not, day one starter, because the Ravens don't need day one starters. The Ravens need depth and they need developing intangibles. I think DeMarco Hellams could be a guy in the 6th round that the Ravens are able to go out and snag. They have good history with Alabama projects. We're working on one right now with Jalen Armour-Davis, another player that I think a lot of people are upset about his rookie year, but I didn't think he would do anything his rookie year. He wasn't ready to play in the NFL, and he got injured, and, he's a developing piece. DeMarco Hellams would be another project. But we can work on projects. We don't need 6th rounders that are going to make instant impacts. That's why the Ravens roster is so good. Going to run through this draft one more time. Joey Porter Jr., A.T. Perry, Jarrett Patterson, Yasir Abdullah, DeMarco Hellams. Let me know in the comment section down below your guys' thoughts. Let me know your mock drafts as well. I love seeing your guys' mock drafts. I love seeing when you guys put the explanations of why you took players. Seeing your guys' reasonings and explanations gives me motivation to look into them. When I just see like 8 names, I'm like, okay, I don't really know who these guys are. But when I see, oh man, we're taking this wide receiver, I think he's going to be really good as an X because of his size and his ability to track the ball. I'll be like, okay, now I know something to look for when I watch them. So let me know in the comment section down below. Thank you all so much for watching. Subscribe for daily Ravens content. And I'll see all of you again next time. It's the off season. The attitude is much more positive. We don't know who the coaches are going to be, but you know what? Most of the roster is pretty set in stone. So see all of you again tomorrow.